Hello everyone. Welcome to Cash Stash TV. Today we are going to explore a fascinating and crucial topic for the world of business and entrepreneurship, geopolitics. Have you ever wondered how global politics can impact business and entrepreneurship? Stay with us and find out. Geopolitics is the study of how geography and international politics influence relations between countries. Examines how countries' geographic location, natural resources, borders, and internal and external policies shape their interactions on the global stage. This field of study also encompasses the analysis of international alliances and conflicts, as well as the impact of political and social movements in different regions of the world. In the business world, geopolitics is essential because it directly affects economic activities, trade relations, and financial stability. Political decisions and international events can alter market conditions, change trade rules, and affect the availability and price of resources. For example, a change in trade policies between two major powers may mean the imposition of new tariffs, increasing import and export costs for businesses. Likewise, the financial stability of a region can be deeply affected by geopolitical decisions, such as economic sanctions or armed conflicts, which can trigger local and global economic crises. Businesses face numerous challenges due to geopolitical factors such as trade agreements, sanctions, and political instability. Trade agreements, such as free trade agreements, can open up new market opportunities, but they can also impose new regulations and standards that companies must meet. On the other hand, the breaking or renegotiation of these agreements can bring with it tariffs and trade barriers, drastically altering import and export costs. For example, a change in tariff policies can make importing raw materials more expensive, impacting the profitability and competitiveness of final products. Economic sanctions are another significant challenge. These can restrict access to certain markets or resources vital for production. For example, a change in tariff policies can make importing raw materials more expensive, impacting the profitability and competitiveness of final products. Production may be halted due to a lack of critical inputs, costs may skyrocket as alternative suppliers, possibly less efficient or more expensive, have to be sought, and customer contracts may be breached, leading to potential litigation and loss of market confidence. In addition, political instability in a region can create an uncertain and volatile economic environment. Investment may be drastically reduced if investors perceive a high risk of conflict or abrupt changes in legislation. Consumer confidence is also affected. In times of political instability, consumers tend to reduce their spending and save more, affecting demand for products and services. This can result in declining sales and additional pressure on businesses to remain viable. Conflicts and social unrest can also disrupt business operations. For example, strikes, protests, and riots can impede the mobility of goods and personnel, affecting supply chains and the distribution of products. In addition, fluctuations in exchange rates, which often accompany political instability, can affect operating costs and long-term financial planning. Businesses must navigate a complex geopolitical landscape where trade agreements, sanctions, and political instability play crucial roles. These factors can significantly alter operating costs, the ability to fulfill contracts, and market confidence, underscoring the importance of a business strategy that takes into account geopolitical realities. Understanding geopolitics enables companies to make informed decisions, enter new markets, and mitigate risks. This deep understanding of the geopolitical environment gives them a significant competitive advantage. For example, a company that closely monitors tensions between two countries may adjust its sourcing strategy to avoid disruptions by identifying alternative suppliers or diversifying its sources of raw materials. This not only ensures continuity of production, but can also reduce costs in the long term by avoiding sudden price increases due to sanctions or conflicts. By anticipating changes in trade policies, companies can better plan their international investments and operations. For example, if a company anticipates the implementation of new tariffs between countries, it may decide to move part of its production to a region with lower trade barriers, thus optimizing its supply chain and reducing operating costs. Furthermore, by being aware of possible regulatory changes, companies can adapt their products and services to comply with new regulations, avoiding fines and delays in product launches. This understanding also allows them to take advantage of opportunities that others might miss, such as entering emerging markets before they become saturated or quickly adjusting to new regulations. Emerging markets, while presenting certain risks, also offer enormous growth potential. Companies that understand the political and economic dynamics of these markets can establish themselves ahead of their competition, capturing greater market share and building a strong customer base. Additionally, being prepared for regulatory changes allows companies to be more agile and respond proactively to new requirements, which can improve their reputation and relationships with regulators. A deep understanding of geopolitics can also help companies build strategic relationships with key players in different regions, strengthening their position in the global market. By understanding the political and economic alliances between countries, companies can forge strategic partnerships that provide them with access to new resources, technology, and markets. These relationships can be crucial to long-term success, allowing companies to influence the regulatory environment and gain support in times of crisis. Geopolitical understanding not only helps companies avoid risks, but also opens up new opportunities for growth and expansion. This proactive and strategic approach enables companies to navigate an increasingly complex and volatile global environment, ensuring their long-term sustainability and success. Let's look at some specific cases. The trade war between the United States and China, which intensified starting in 2018. The conflict resulted in tariffs on billions of dollars worth of products, affecting many companies, from technology to manufacturing. For example, 25% tariffs on electronic products and components led companies like Apple to reevaluate their supply chains, since much of their production was located in China. The company had to consider moving part of its manufacturing to other countries, such as Vietnam or India, to avoid these additional costs, which entails a significant restructuring process. Such adaptations are not only costly, but also require careful strategic planning and the ability to respond quickly to changes in the geopolitical environment. Companies need to evaluate not only production costs, but also quality, logistics, and workforce training at new production sites. In addition, they must establish relationships with new suppliers and customers, which can take time and effort. But the impact is not limited to technology. Other sectors, such as agriculture, have also been deeply affected. For example, American farmers faced the loss of markets in China, which imposed tariffs on products such as soybeans and pork. This led many of them to seek new export opportunities in other countries, but also to deal with falling prices in the domestic market. The automotive sector also felt the effects of this trade war. Manufacturers such as Ford and General Motors faced higher costs for components imported from China, which forced them to adjust their prices and marketing strategies. Some decided to invest in local production to reduce dependence on foreign supplies, while others reconsidered their strategic alliances with suppliers. This trade conflict illustrates the breadth of geopolitical impact on various industries, showing how decisions made in one country can trigger cascading effects globally. Companies that did not adapt to these new realities risked losing competitiveness and market share. Thus, the US-China trade war not only reconfigured the trade dynamics between these two powers, but also served as a stark reminder of the importance of geopolitics in contemporary business decisions. The global economy and trade in goods and services are reeling from the effects of international geopolitical turmoil. In recent years, we have seen how events such as tensions in the Middle East, sanctions against Russia and Brexit trade negotiations have destabilized markets, generating a climate of uncertainty that affects companies of all sizes. Tensions in the Middle East, for example, have led to drastic fluctuations in oil prices. When there is conflict in oil-producing countries such as Iran or Iraq, the price of a barrel of oil can skyrocket, which in turn increases transportation and production costs for many industries, from the automotive to the food industry. These increased costs translate into higher prices for consumers and can affect demand for products. Another mega example of how geopolitics affects the economy, finance, business and entrepreneurship is the impact of the war that Russia started by invading Ukraine. This conflict has literally reverberated around the entire world and has generated a significant economic shock due to several key factors. First, energy dependence on Russia. Russia is the European Union's main energy supplier, providing around 40% of natural gas and coal, and more than 23% of oil. The disruption or increase in the cost of these supplies has created a significant negative supply shock, raising production and transportation costs for businesses, which in turn translates into higher prices for consumers and lower real income. Second, the importance of Russia as an export market. Sanctions and deteriorating trade relations have affected EU exports to Russia, reducing the revenues of many European companies. This creates uncertainty and delays investments as companies are wary of the risk of large-scale armed conflict. Third, the effects of higher import prices. The war has caused an increase in the prices of raw materials, affecting the real net income of European countries. This increase in the cost of imported commodities translates into higher costs for companies and lower profit margins, impacting both large corporations and new entrepreneurs who struggle to remain competitive in an environment of rising costs. In short, the conflict in Ukraine shows how geopolitical events can destabilize the economy, increase operating costs, reduce investments, and affect international trade. Companies and entrepreneurs must be aware of these factors and adapt quickly to minimize risks and take advantage of opportunities in an increasingly complex and volatile global environment. On October 7, 2023, militants from the Hamas terrorist group invade Israeli territory and cowardly and cold-bloodedly murder more than 1,160 innocent civilians and then kidnap more than 250 Israelis, including the elderly and children. This attack sparked the war between Hamas and Israel. This war started by Hamas is a clear example of the geopolitical influence on international business, especially in the West. The outbreak of this new conflict has sparked serious clashes in a maritime trade zone, leading to an escalation of attacks and hijackings of merchant ships on a key international trade route between Asia and Europe in the Red Sea. These attacks were carried out by Houthi rebels in Yemen, allies of Iran and enemies of Israel. This situation has caused growing concern among international traders and Western foreign ministries. Some 20,000 ships pass through the Red Sea each year, representing 40% of international trade. The increased risks in the region have led some companies, such as Danish shipping giant Maersk, to suspend all container shipments through the Red Sea. This decision, taken after several security incidents, not only increases operating costs, but also creates significant delays in the global supply chain. On the other hand, Brexit has reconfigured trade relations between the United Kingdom and the European Union. Protracted negotiations and new trade barriers have led to increased bureaucracy and additional costs for companies operating in different regions. For example, logistics companies have had to adapt their operations to comply with new customs regulations, which has delayed shipments and increased operating costs. This has also led some companies to reconsider their production or distribution locations, seeking to minimize the negative impacts of the new regulatory environment. Companies must be alert to these events in order to adapt quickly and minimize risks. Those that are able to anticipate geopolitical changes can adjust their business strategies, diversifying suppliers or exploring new markets to reduce their exposure to specific risks. The importance of geopolitics in international business and trade cannot be underestimated, as it affects everything from operating costs to long-term investment decisions. Understanding these factors is vital for any company looking to grow in an increasingly uncertain and changing global environment. In short, geopolitics is a key factor that must be considered in business strategies and decisions. Ignoring these aspects can lead to significant risks, while a good understanding of them can provide competitive advantages. Companies that invest in understanding and anticipating geopolitical shifts will be better positioned to navigate an increasingly complex and volatile global environment. Diagnosing the current situation shows that tensions between world powers, regional conflicts, and new international alliances are reshaping the global economic landscape. Thank you for joining us on Cash Stash TV. Before you go, if you enjoyed the content on this channel, please give us a like and subscribe to Cash Stash TV. Don't forget to hit the bell to receive notifications for future videos. See you in the next one. Bye.